Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the kind invitation to be with you in this Eurotherm conference. It's a pity that we cannot be all physically in Lisbon, but we hope soon we can have our normal conference again. Today I'm going to talk briefly about the policies and funding mechanisms at European level for research and innovation. A new cycle of policies and funding is starting this year, so we are organized in periods of 7 years, and now we have the period from 21 to 27, and novelties that we have that are so important for the researchers in Europe and all over the world, because actually our programs are open to the world, to most of the countries that we have relations with. So in the beginning I will concentrate, in the beginning of my talk, I will concentrate mainly on policies, and in the second part I will briefly describe the funding mechanism that is mainly our research and innovation framework program, Horizon Europe. Our policies are mainly concentrating the concept of the European research and innovation era. Science and innovation has contributed more than any other policy to build a European atmosphere, to build Europe, probably together with education, with the Erasmus, with the mobility of students. They have been the two policies that have contributed for more mobility, to create a space that is considered a European space. The concept of European research area is very dear to us, and is the foundation of our policy for research and innovation. Actually is very much based on principles and values. Principles like the academic freedom, that is a value very important for the Europeans, and we care about the academic freedom in the institutions, the individual freedom of the researchers at the European Commission level, and also at the member state level. Another principle that is always present in our policies is the ethics, and the ethics in science and new technologies, and we care about, and we have a very comprehensive evaluation of our research in all screening of all our research programs that are funded, in research projects that are funded by European budget. They need to go through a screening of ethical implications, and if they have ethical implications, we have a detailed evaluation on the ethics, and after a follow-up with the ethics specialists that will follow up the research that is performed under this consortium. And the other principle that we care very much, and we are pushing, that is a reality in all the European institutions, in all the European consortiums, is the values of research integrity. So this, as in other policies in Europe, the values are at the center of our political performance. So it's something that is at the center of the European research area. The second point is the aim of getting closer to the regions of the world that invest more in research and innovation. And we have this objective of the investing in 3% of the European GDP in research and innovation. We had already this objective to be achieved in 2010. It was not achieved. After we postponed the objective for 2020, we still do not achieve this objective. We have been quite stable and not growing in the investments in research and innovation, and now we have this objective for 2030. So it's quite disappointing. At the European level, we have steadily increased the value of our research and innovation program, from FP7 to Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe, but what happened is that in member states and in the public sector, they have not increased at the same speed that we have increased at European level. So we, from the European institutions, we have pushed the member states to invest more in research and innovation, to the private sector to invest more in research and innovation, because we consider that is an important factor for the creating wealth and creating jobs and making Europe more competitive, and also for our well-being. So this continues to be a very important part of our policy, to push the member states and the private sector to create the conditions for them to invest more in research and innovation. And we also, is part of this promotion, to incentivize the member states that the part of the European fundings that are co-managed and are the detailed management is done in the member states, like the regional funds, like the new recovery and resilience plans, that they invest part of that they devote part of that on research and innovation. Not all the member states do that, and at least they do not do it with the ambitions that we would like. If we have, for example, the Recovery and Resilience Plan, that is the recovery plan for the European Union, that the member states decide what are their priorities. If we sum up what all the 27 member states devote to research and innovation, in the 27 member states, we achieved around 30 billion euros. That is more or less 1/3 what we have in our Horizon Europe, that is our research and innovation program. And we were hoping that at least we could have near 100 billion from the Recovery and Resilience Plan. So we hope still, because we still can have modifications in the Resilience and Recovery Plan, that member states realize the importance of investing in research and innovation, and they devote more of their funds to research and innovation. Another very important policy is reducing the innovation gap in Europe. We still have a quite large innovation gap, both in terms of funding, but also in terms of results and publications and patents. And we have member states like Sweden, Finland, that have achieved the goal of the 3% or are very near the 3% of the GDP in investment in research and innovation. And we have on the opposite member states that are very low, even under 1%. So the innovation gap is something that we need to address. And we need to address to pushing these member states to help these member states to do the necessary reforms, that they have more research and innovation, and also that they participate more at the European level in the programs, keeping excellence as the criteria, but creating the conditions that they they have the information, they have the capacity to start applying, because the most difficult step is the beginning, is to enter in the programs. Another point that is for us very important is the careers of the researchers, to make sure that the member states create the condition for our researchers to have stable careers, that we don't have a brain drain from parts of Europe to the more peripheral parts of Europe, to the center of Europe, that instead we have a brain circulation, because we praised a lot the mobility. Mobility is very important for science, but we don't have a drain. So in the design of our programs and our policies, we try to incentivize the exchange from south to north, from center to the more peripheral, and not a brain drain. And this is also done if you create better conditions for research, such as infrastructures, more modern infrastructures. Most of our member states and regions need to renew their infrastructures for scientific work. So we are also calling the member states for using the recovery plan to give these infrastructures that are required for the research and innovation. The last part of our policy is the international cooperation. We praise the fact that we have been and we are open to the world, that we praise the international collaboration, and at least in fundamental research, our policy is the cooperation. We have associated countries that can participate almost at the same level as member states in Horizon Europe, but even if you are not an associated country, you can participate. And it's for us very, very important, this global dimension of science, and Europe is a continent that is very open, and we want to continue to be open. Is one of our strengths is exactly the openness. So these are mainly our policy in terms of research and innovation. And I will describe the Horizon Europe, that is the next framework program for research and innovation. And that follows the Horizon 2020. It was a very successful program. Was a program I have the honor to have been the rapporteur of the specific program of Horizon 2020. And just one example of the success of Horizon 2020, both vaccines, mRNA vaccines, the Moderna and the BioNTech, were developed, co-financed by Horizon 2020. One, in case of Moderna, with the SME instrument at a specific phase of the development, and the BioNTech through our European Research Council grants, so our more fundamental part of Horizon 2020, and shows that we have developed in a quite short time new innovative vaccines, because in the past we have invest a lot in fundamental research, bottom-up research, that at the time was risky research, because we didn't know if this technology will be successful in the future, but it proved to be the way out, we hope the definitely way out of this pandemic. So now Horizon Europe is a successor of Horizon 2020. It's just starting. The first calls are starting now. It will last for 7 years. We have kept the good things of Horizon 2020 are kept in Horizon Europe. So it's mainly divided in 3 parts. Part 1 is excellent science. We didn't change almost anything in part 1. because it worked very well in the previous years. It has the European Research Council, so there are large grants of the order of 1 million, 2 million euros for fundamental research, bottom up, there is no agenda. We have the Marie Curie actions for scholarships for younger researchers and more established researchers. Also without predefined priorities, bottom up, and we have the research infrastructure. This is pillar 1, that is the continuation of Horizon 2020. In pillar 2, we have the most, this is the largest part, is the more collaborative. The collaborative research is the research in consortium. Consortiums of universities, research centers, enterprises, different member states, associated countries, third countries, and is divided. Here there are priorities, and the one that has more funding is health. We also have the digital, industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment, civil security for society, and we have a novelty that for the first time we have with a high priority, culture and creativity and inclusive society. Actually, this is one novelty that we consider this interface between the culture and creative industries and sectors with the new technologies, with science as a priority for the European research and innovation program. So I draw your attention for this area is a new area. On pillar 3 is devoted to innovation, and there we have some novelties compared with the previous program. Because we had the SME instrument devoted to SME, more traditional SMEs, and now this was replaced by the European Innovation Council, and this European Innovation Council is devoted to a more disruptive innovation, more disruptive startups and SMEs, so very interesting, but is a novelty that needs to be looked with attention. And we have the European Institute of Innovation and Technology that is already exists since 2008. Is the characteristics of this part of Horizon Europe is that is the only part that has the triangle of knowledge, including higher education. It's higher education, science and innovation. So it's very interesting for universities because you combine the 3 components. Is organized in what we call KICs, knowledge innovation communities, that after they, in different areas, that after they open their calls for proposals, and consortium can apply, combining the 3 components, postgraduate students with research programs, with the creation of startups or more applied work together with industry. We have already areas on the climate, digital, food, health, energy, manufacturing, raw materials, urban mobility, and for the next period of 7 years, 2 new ones are going to be created. One that is now open very soon, that is the culture and creative sectors and industries, along the lines of the new priority of Horizon Europe, and a second KIC that will open a bit later, that is also a very interesting one, that is called water, marine and maritime sectors. So these are the areas inside the European Institute of Technology. To finalize, I want you to draw your attention for, in Pillar 2, you have the consortium, but you also have public-private partnerships, that are a special part of Pillar 2, of the Part 2 of Horizon Europe, where you have in certain way half of the budget from the Commission, from Horizon Europe, and part from the private sector. And after, there is a special management of this budget, and they open calls, but the private sector has an important say in these calls and the priorities. They are mainly devoted to very important topics for the competitiveness of the European industry. The areas that we have is, for example, clean aviation. The clean hydrogen is another one. Circular bio-based is the third one. The Europe's Rail, devoted to railways. Global health, innovative health initiative, key digital technologies, single European sky, smart networks and service, very much devoted to development of 5G and 6G, and the high performance computing, HPC. This one is a special one that part of the budget is devoted to acquire supercomputers for Europe. One of them is going to be located in Portugal, but not only to buy the machines, but also to promote research and innovation in the development of models that can be used in this high-performance computing, like computer simulation, but also in research of developing the next generation of computers, such as the quantum computing. All these public-private partnerships, they have a very high budget, 10 billion, and they are very interested because they have an agenda, priorities set up, the priorities are set by European Commission together with the private sector. And I want to draw your attention for two of them that are probably most interest for the Eurotherm scientists. One is the clean aviation. The clean aviation, the main objective in these 7 years is to put aviation on the route of climate neutrality, so to develop new ways, new aircrafts that can emit much less CO2. So questions like the electric aircraft or hydrogen will be on the pipeline, on the development. So this implies a lot of research on heat transfer, combustion, computational fluid mechanics, so many areas, materials, many areas that can interest you. And but usually, and I have to confess, has been not very easy to for the researchers and universities to be part of this consortium. I was also rapporteur of these partnerships, and my main point and my main novelty in these partnerships was to make sure that these partnerships are more open to newcomers, are more open to universities and research centers, are more open to SMEs, because they have been in the past quite dominate for larger enterprises, large industries. So I draw your attention because is now for the next 7 years that these partnerships will be more open to universities and research centers. The second partnerships that I want to draw your attention, because involves a lot of thermal science, is the clean hydrogen. And the clean hydrogen, the objective is accelerated development and deployment of clean hydrogen technologies to contribute to decarbonization. So the clean hydrogen from the production of hydrogen from water using renewable energies, in any way it will continue in a phasing out way, but will continue the hydrogen from reforming of natural gas. So in all that, and after the use of hydrogen for electricity production, for heat production, there's plenty of room for thermal science and computational fluid mechanics to be involved in these two partnerships. So they are partnerships that have quite a high budget of funding, and it's very important to be aware that they exist, to prepare the call for proposals and the proposal that responds to this call for proposals with time, to have the right consortium, to have partnerships also with the industry, but they represent very interesting opportunities for our researchers and for our universities. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope that this gives you an overview of the possibilities and there are plenty of possibilities to participate in European programs, not only because of the budget, that is probably the less important, but because you are part of a consortium, you are part of a community, and like this the results and the research is accelerated. And for example, the associated countries that can participate almost as an equal level of the member states that are now negotiating these associating agreements are, for example, all the Balkans, and many of the neighborhood countries can participate, so it's not only the 27 member states. So I wish you very good work, and that you take opportunity to get advantage of all these possibilities that Europe offers to you. Thank you very much.